So thank you for joining us today for the finance seminar in 2021. This is day one of the finance seminar, and today we'll be covering mainly Zoho Books. We'll go over a little bit of expense, but we'll have a demo, and we'll also talk about migrations at the end with Josh. He's not here yet, but I will introduce him whenever he comes up in the presentation. Today, the session is in Showtime, and let's kind of do a little overview. As you can see on the left-hand side, you'll see these different tabs. You have the questions tab, where you can enter in questions. We'll be able to answer them. Val, myself, and Dheeraj will kind of be in there, in and out in the questions tab to answer any questions. We also have the polls, which you'll be able to participate in. Those are mainly for CPE credits, but we also ask that everyone who's attending who doesn't necessarily need a CPE, and we ask that you fill those out too, because it just keeps you engaged and helps us kind of tailor our webinar to the audience. And also we have the chat section where you're able to go in there and just say something like, "Hey, I don't have any sound. Can you please help me out?" And we'll be able to help you there. And also in the chat, everyone's just kind of saying where they're tuning in from. And during the session, we can also communicate with what's going on if there's any technical issues, but I don't see that to be an issue. And go ahead and check out the handout section as well. That's where you're able to download resources. One resource would be this slide deck. We also have a great newsletter from Preston and Nagley in there. They had their November one up, and I think their December will be coming up soon, being live soon. And we also have our partner webpage in there and our YouTube channel as well. So in today's webinar, let's go over a few more housekeeping items. I mentioned Showtime already, but this session does qualify for 2 CPE credits. And those of you who don't know what a CPE credit, it's a continued professional education. That's really for CPAs. And in order to obtain that, you need to attend for at least 100 minutes. You need to complete 6 out of the 8 polling questions. A polling question will pop up on your screen. Here's an example of one. Did you attend the finance seminar in 2020? So that's what we did last year. And this one is a little different. Last year was a little bit more of a workshop. We're trying to kind of show you what Zoho did this past year. It's definitely with Zoho Books, and we're trying to show you some new applications. And so that's great to hear that a lot of y'all did not attend. So that's awesome. And I can kind of show results too. Some questions I won't show the results, but some I will, so you can kind of see what's going on. And as people answer, I believe for you guys as well, it will kind of move up and down depending. And yeah, so we also will send out an evaluation at the end. So you have to wait till I close out the session. Once I close it out, the evaluation will pop up. Please fill it out. Definitely, if you would like to receive a CPE, your 2 CPE credits for the session, but also if you're just attending, we love to get feedback, positive or negative. It really helps us improve and see what we have to work on going forward. So let me go ahead and introduce the Zoho team. I'll introduce myself real quick, but my name is Nathan Rogerson. I'm the marketing manager over here at Zoho. And really, my role is to help out with partner development, also the partner marketing as well. But we also put on these great webinars, which we've been doing for about 2 years and going on 2 years. Yeah, because I've been with Zoho for about 2 years, but my background is about 5 years in the accounting industry. So not including my career here at Zoho. But yeah, so I'm really excited to be on the Zoho team, and it's been quite the adventure. And I've been able to meet great people, and one of those people is Dheeraj, and he's our lead accountant program. I'll let him introduce himself real quick.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nathan. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this webinar, this session. So I take care of partner engagement at Zoho, mainly finance partner engagements. I talk to a lot of CPAs, CAs, accountants, make sure they're able to manage their clients seamlessly on a suite of finance applications. That's what I do at Zoho, and it has been great working for the team.
Yeah, one thing he didn't mention is he's been here for about 6 years. So he started out in support, and so he knows a lot about the product. And if you ever have any questions, definitely reach out to us at our account email, and we'll be able to help you out. We also have Val Steed, which is our resident CPA. Hey, Val.
Hey, everybody. Good day and welcome. Very happy that you're here. I think we'll have 3 good days of information. We've got some terrific presenters lined up. I think we got some terrific material lined up, and I think you're going to enjoy this very much. So my background, just quickly, CPA in this accounting technology world for many years. In fact, I know a lot of the key players at some of the bigger companies, Intuit, Microsoft, you name it, a lot of these key players. But when I had an opportunity to come join Zoho, I couldn't turn that down. It was a really great opportunity to go build an accountant's program here at Zoho. So we're still in the process of that. We're still working on that. Our end game is to have a program that will be as good as anybody's and actually even be better, especially when it comes to partnering with you and also with sharing revenue with you. And there's a few things we're especially focused on to make sure we do a lot better job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate that, Val. And also, I wanted to add one more thing. If you have an accountant that you currently work with and they don't necessarily aren't super engaged with Zoho, go ahead and reach out to them to tell them to join our last day, just because our last seminar day really kind of opens the door, have you, to what Zoho has to offer. And also, we're doing a kind of like a little partner presentation at the very end of that where we can kind of explain the program a little bit more. But let's go ahead and continue on. I appreciate that, Val. And also, another thing I wanted to add is all three of us really do work with CPAs on a daily basis. So if you're a client yourself or a Zoho customer and you're in the market for a CPA, go ahead and reach out to us and we can kind of connect you to multiple partners to kind of see what's the best fit for you. So let's go ahead and go over the agenda real quick. We're going to start the session off with what is a Zoho? And I kind of put that in there, funny way of saying that, but that's something Val always says, and you see him kind of laughing over there. And I just think it's kind of a funny way to put it, but because really Zoho is a little overwhelming, and what is it to a lot of people? And we'll also be exploring Zoho Books' new features, and we'll do books features you need to know about. And that's kind of a list we put together. It's 5 things you need to know about. We'll do a live demo of some of these features, and we'll be exploring a little bit of expense, just kind of showing the new expense 2.0 and also some other features about it. And we'll also do navigating migration with Josh over there at Pressing and Nagling whenever he joins. So let's go ahead and get started with what is a Zoho? Val, you ready?
Absolutely. Number one question we get, folks, what is a Zoho? We're probably the largest technology company in the globe that most people don't know. And so the name is a bit unusual, and they often ask us, what is a Zoho? It was actually a play on small office, home office as a domain. And thank heavens it didn't take, because Zoho works better in the enterprise space. And it's one of those serendipitous things that because it happened this way, it turned out better. So that is the name of the company. Now, underneath it, we have a pile of applications. And when I say a pile of applications, I mean many. This particular slide has over 50 applications sitting right there to show you. So we are not just accounting. We are not just, expense management or bill payment. We have apps for almost everything in the entire bucket. Now, so that we don't lose you on an event like this, rather than just point you at this big mass of applications, what we're going to do is narrow that down kind of by buckets as we go along. And to show you a little bit of the history, you can go back and look. Zoho has actually been in existence for 25 years. The first few years, they got their 2 products, CRM and Writer, ready to go, and then they released it in 2005. And then ever since then, they've had pretty serious product releases almost every year. So they kind of see the timeline was building up applications. So we are not a new company. We are a private company, privately held, which means a lot to you. What it means is our executives won't go selling us out to some other company. They're not going to sell out to Wall Street. They have deep interest in this company and keeping it personal. That's one of the big reasons I joined this company. I felt like I could trust the executive management. I was giving up the farm, a business that I had built for 30 years, to come join Zoho and do something here. So it really means a lot to me that this company is privately owned and well managed. Our apps are also grouped as such. Now, Let me show you what I mean by that. We often will use the phrase Zoho, the operating system of business. What that means is we're not trying to say we're the operating system for hardware. What we're saying is once you get that hardware running, everything else, we should be your answer. We have answers for mail, data storage, website management, mail campaigns, finance. You get the idea. I keep going. CRM, blah, blah, blah. There's just a ton of apps out there. So once you get your system running, Zoho is the operating system that takes over from there. For example, talk about groups. We did talk about groups or the suites. Here's the sales marketing suite with the apps that they have in their particular categories. We're going to add a little bit to that today. We're going to add Zoho Books in there. We'll kind of mix and matching a little finance there with some CRM. We're also going to go into Finance Plus, which has meeting, work drive, etc. We'll add a few other apps as well. Now, come down. There should be one more slide on the finance suite, Nathan. There we go. This is the finance suite. Our team heavily represents the finance suite. So just so you know that, I always like to add analytics in here because I believe it plays out real well. Go to the next slide. We do have a partner program. Come forward to one more slide from there. And right here. If you'll notice, we do have our own website, if you will. It's a subsite of Zoho.com. I felt very strongly that too many accounts were getting lost going to Zoho.com and getting lost in the 50 plus apps. Hence, if you go to Zoho.com/CPA, we've tried to narrow it down. Now, don't let that bother anyone. Even if you're a small business owner, we want you going here to get information. I don't care if you're a bookkeeper or an accountant, enrolled agent, CPA, whoever you are, you're interested in finance, you're interested in accounting, this is the site, and we're trying to build this site out. We had to pick a domain, and we picked that one just because it was shortest, and it worked out really well. So that's what we're up to. And we do have a very nice partner program, which I believe day 3, right, Nathan, we'll spend some time on.
Yeah, day 3. That's at the end of the session. We're kind of covering that, so we don't bog down a lot.
Yeah, I believe Nathan was just mentioning that.
Mm-hmm.
So, excellent.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and another thing to kind of add to that point, we have a ton of partners who are bookkeepers or accountants, and I really like to look at them as ways we can kind of help them grow and go beyond the accounting platform, because we know a lot of times whenever you're trying to be billable, and if you're not necessarily a CPA, it's a little hard to get your billable rates up if you're kind of quote unquote a bookkeeper. So that's really what Zoho has to offer, is that value added service. And you can go from a bookkeeper to a CRM implementator and an accounting implementator. So that's kind of what some of our partners have done, and they've been very successful, where they're able to start their own business and really grow their own business and have more than just, they're not just working for themselves, and they don't just have one employee. They've really grown out to have multiple employees, because the Zoho traffic, once you get in the partner program, the Zoho traffic can be a little overwhelming for a lot of, not overwhelming. It's overwhelming in a good way, but I'll go ahead and launch the first poll question. And it's just, are you interested in learning about the finance partnership program? And I will say, we do see a lot of success, and definitely right now with we kind of go over the numbers later. On day 3, we're going to go over the numbers with Zoho, but as we have over 60 million users worldwide, and that was as of 2020. So I would imagine
we don't have much trouble keeping our Zoho finance partners busy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are in that category and you're kind of interested, this is a great place to play, folks. In my opinion, as you'll learn over the next couple of days, we're gonna explain to you why we're so proud of this. Why do we think this is the way of the future? Why? Well, we're going to explain to you. I'll be jumping in and out as the topic arises, or there's something I want to talk about. So for now, I'll kind of step out.
Yeah, thanks for that, Val. And I'll go ahead and continue the session. We'll leave this up for about 10 more seconds, just because people looking for a CPE do need to fill this out. I appreciate everybody filling out the poll who don't need a CPE credit. Well, it's actually 2 CPE credits for today. Awesome. Great. So let's go ahead and get started on the rest of the webinar. So today, let's go ahead and exploring Zoho Books' new features. And these are features that have been implemented over the past year or so, give or take. And we thought they were kind of the best features to add. We do have more that kind of happened throughout the year, but those were just improvements to Zoho, kind of back end stuff. But we felt like these were the biggest improvements of the year to kind of help uh, companies and firms. So one of the big ones is free Zoho Books. This happened earlier in the year, I believe Q1, and I think this is one of the best additions to Zoho Books in a while, just because it's a free tool for small businesses to kind of explore and organize their finances. And the great thing about this as well, if you're a partner, is you're able to help out small businesses to kind of start off their accounting and organize it so that in the future you don't necessarily have to organize it and put in uh, accounting software. I know that can be very beneficial and cost effective for a lot of businesses. And what's great about this free Zoho Books version is it has all the basic core functions of an accounting software. You're able to put your contacts in there, keep contact with them, and then you'll be able to do your invoicing in there, your expenses, your banking, and reporting and online payments. So all the basic functions of an accounting software, and you're able to really organize your company from the start, so you don't have to sit there and stress out about paying for accounting software. You can kind of just start off with the free version, and as you start seeing success, you can either upgrade or kind of stay in there, which is really cool. So that's one of the features we added earlier this year, and I know a lot of our partners have kind of implemented that for some of their clientele that's just not necessarily there as far as growth, and they're just really there to help them grow, and so they can get to the point where they're over that 50K revenue threshold and really start growing their business. And we also added some new Zoho Payroll enhancements earlier this year. One of those being we now integrate with Sure Payroll, which I think is very beneficial just because, every day businesses try to do payroll on their own, or they're not really keeping track of it and what happens whenever they get audited and all that stuff. So it's really great to use a payroll provider just because they kind of keep everything in one place, and they're able to pull up historical data, so you don't necessarily have to, and you don't have to dig through your files to figure out how much you paid Bobby or Susan. So you just kind of have it all in one place, and you're able to pull reporting through there, and it all fully integrates with Zoho Books, which is really great. And this is for all 50 states. However, Zoho, the past year or so, is starting to roll out more states for Zoho Payroll. And that's kind of our solution, our alternative. And the states we have open now is California, Texas, New York, and Florida. And we do also have early access as well for Washington, Illinois, North Carolina, Kansas, and Tennessee. So if you're in those states, go ahead and check it out. It's relatively affordable. So I would recommend, if you don't need something super robust like Sure Payroll, definitely check out our payroll solution as well. Here's kind of an example of it. And it's a same beautiful dashboard that you're familiar with Zoho Books, just obviously different tabs on the left-hand side. So you'll be able to go into your employees, do a deep dive for your employees, check out your payroll runs, your taxes. And also a cool thing about it is you can check out the reports and see what's happening as you're paying your employees. And yeah, so here's some other solutions. Other benefits for it. Obviously, you can automate your payroll. No more manually writing these checks on a Friday afternoon, and people are all lined up at the door, kind of waiting for their checks every single day. You can automate that. I actually had an employer who did handwritten checks every other week, and I had to go take it to the Chase Bank, and then I wouldn't get my money for like a week or something. So as the employee, I was a little frustrated with that. So definitely try to automate your payroll as much as you can. And our payroll solution allows you to be taxes and your compliance, keep everything in order, so that whenever those quarterly tax payments come up, you're able to do so, and you're reporting at the end of the year, you're able to do that as well. And like I mentioned earlier, is you can do payroll reports on demand. So you're able to see your payroll summaries or your monthly payroll costs, and just kind of have that ready to go and see where you're at, really for cash flow basis, and see if you're able to sustain your business, I guess. Um, Yeah, so let's continue on. So we also have new platform capabilities for Zoho Books, and I think this is pretty unique and beneficial for a lot of businesses out there. What that means is really we have these new connectors, and you can connect Zoho Books with third-party services, and you can access these databases and authenticate it, and really create these custom functions out of it. And we have predefined connectors and custom connectors. Obviously, the custom connectors, you'll have to go out there and do some stuff on your own. But with the predefined, some of those third-party apps, you can connect with them and then use them in custom functions within Zoho Books, so which I think is pretty cool. And some of these apps are like Gmail, OneDrive, you have your Google Drive, and Shopify. So if you're using any of these third-party applications, go ahead and check out the connectors and see how you can create these custom functions so that you can possibly benefit from it and improve your reporting, or yeah, really improve your reporting within Zoho Books and stay on top of some of these apps. So another cool thing we added up this year was Zoho Analytics dashboard within Zoho Books. And really what that is additional reporting. And if you're not familiar with Zoho Analytics, I would advise you to kind of stay tuned for day 3 of the seminar, where we'll be doing a deep dive with one of our premier partners, Anata, and they'll be kind of walking through the basics of analytics and what it looks like whenever it connects with Zoho Books. And what's really great about this, for example, is you can add these different reports. Here's an example right here. So obviously you can see some of these reports right there, but the main one I want you to focus on is that cash flow year to date. So this is a report that was created within analytics. It's not an internal report within here within Zoho Books. So you can really tailor these reports to be whatever you want within analytics. But what's cool is you can put it on this dashboard, and it's an easy place to just access, and you don't have to go to any other application. It's just stay in Zoho Books, and you're able to continue on um, and check out those reports. So here's kind of a deeper dive into it, and you kind of really see what's going on. And this is real time, so you'll be able to see what's going on within your business on a daily basis through those reports. And I don't know why you would check out your cash flow report every single day, but it's kind of like me in the stock market. I check it out every single day. Well, my retirement, which I don't need to do. So you don't necessarily need to always check out your analytics reports, but it's always good to have it there, which is pretty cool. So we also have role-based permissions added to reports, and this is something that is also super beneficial. Definitely me coming from the accounting world. I knew whenever I was doing accounting advisory work, there was a lot of employees for companies where they didn't necessarily need to touch everything within the business. Like they just wanted to focus on AR, AP. So this really adds those permissions for them to go pull those reports, and they don't necessarily have permission to pull any other reports. So they can't go in there and look at your P&L or your balance sheet and check out cash and all that stuff. They can just focus on AR, AP. Here's kind of an example of what it'll look like. And I believe Dheeraj might cover that a little later here in the demo. But as you can see, you can come in here and select and deselect what you want. So as you start going further down this list, it does activate other things as well. So if you do export, it'll activate view. If you do share, it'll activate all these. And if you deselect, it'll deselect all. So I think that's very beneficial. For example, this employee needs to just pull the balance sheet because they have to do a deep dive into their assets, and but they don't necessarily need to do a deep dive and export this to a CSV file or Zoho Sheets for P&L. So really, they just kind of play around with balance sheets at the end of the year for fixed assets and all that stuff. So I think that's pretty unique. And like I said, we'll kind of cover that a little bit more later. So let me check the time real quick. So we're doing good on time. Awesome. So we also added QR codes to invoice templates. And really, I think this is pretty unique just because through these QR codes, you can really place an online payment avenue through that QR code, so you can get paid faster as a company. And you can customize that QR code as well to go to other things. So like, I guess if you want someone to go check out your website through that QR code, they can do that for, either more online ordering or just so they can kind of visit, so you can get more website traffic. What's really great about this is it really automates as much as you can. Definitely for those customers who don't necessarily want to automate. You're not necessarily forcing them here, but you can definitely add that option. So you send out your first invoice and you know you're going to be sending more. You send them that QR code so then they can now see that you have an online portal to make payments and check out their invoices, so they don't necessarily have to keep getting this mail invoice as well. Another thing we wanted to do is to dive deeper into the Zoho ecosystem. And some of these things being with Zoho Begin CRM, which is our CRM Lite. And really what that does is your invoices, your estimates, and sales orders modules can be pushed over to Begin. And that's pretty neat. If you don't necessarily need the full-fledged CRM solution, we have that as well, which is a good alternative for businesses that are just now starting out and wanted to keep your contacts organized. We also integrate deeper with Zoho Click, and this is pretty cool just because it allows sales teams to get notified about customer estimates and invoices, so they don't necessarily have to reach out to the accountant about when is this going to happen, because if they're on a commission structure and they need to know when something fully gets paid and closed. And you can communicate through books, Zoho Books, this web page as well. So you can kind of just, the Click chat box will just be there at the bottom, and you can go through there and just communicate as well. And that's pretty unique. And here's kind of an example of what it looks like. So as you can see, the estimate has been viewed. They've commented on the estimate and it has been accepted. The invoice has been viewed and they've commented on the invoice as well. So you can kind of see what's going on throughout the whole thing. So if your boss is yelling at you, asking what's going on with that invoice, you can kind of check it out. They don't necessarily have to be yelling, but I always picture a boss yelling, I guess. I don't know why. I watched Office Space the other day, so I guess that's why I'm thinking about that. But yeah, so that's some of the new features we have within Zoho Books over this past year. I do want to cover Books features that we think you need to know about. Dheeraj and myself kind of sat down and talked about some of the top 5 features that we think people should know about, and I'll go over that here in a little bit. I did want to launch our second poll question real quick for everybody who needs a CPE, and like I mentioned earlier, appreciate everybody kind of taking part in this just because it helps us whenever we're going with the live demo, and definitely with migrations as well. We kind of help you with that as well. And I do see some questions in the questions pane, and we'll try to get to those as soon as possible. I know during the migration session, Dheeraj will be able to help out in there, and myself as well. And yeah, so as y'all are answering this, I'll kind of see if there's anything I can help with. Okay, cool. So I'll go ahead and continue on. I appreciate y'all answering that poll question. And let me actually go through that and see kind of what everybody's. So it looks like majority of people on this call today are finance and accounting, which is cool, and service-based businesses and other, actually. If you're other, go ahead and tell me in the chat section what other would be for you. Awesome. So let's go ahead and continue on with books features you need to know about. And like I said, Dheeraj and myself kind of put this together. This isn't the Zoho official way, but this is kind of the Zoho Finance team, what we thought were the best things that customers and partners need to know about if you don't.
Yeah, obviously these are features that made life easier for a lot of people, right?
Yeah. And I think a lot of the focus we had was what are things how we can automate as much as we can so that you're not manually doing things. For example, here, number 1 is auto email reminders. And this is, you can send out manual reminders for sent invoices, for overdue invoices, and can be done it can be done directly within an invoice. So you're in an invoice and you're like, hey, I don't know what's going on with this customer and they still haven't paid. There's an email button up there. You just sit there and click it and it will send out an email to them for payment or whatever you would like. And we also have automated reminders where you can set up within the settings area but Dheeraj will cover this a little bit more, but you can do before or after due date. This can be enabled for bills as well. So that's pretty neat. So you can just go in there in the settings area and just do these automated reminders so that you don't necessarily have to think about it, but your customers will be getting those emails saying, hey, a payment's coming up here in a few days, or hey, you didn't pay this. Please pay it. So you don't necessarily have to go out there and constantly remind people to pay stuff. Obviously, you might need to step in if they haven't paid and it's been a while, but for the most part, we're trying to minimize that by sending out as many automated reminders as well. So that's one feature to kind of look into. And also, we have scheduled reports. And now this is, in my opinion, I put this on there because as a previous accounting advisor, we were always having to do weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly reports all the time. I don't necessarily recommend doing automated yearly reports just because I feel like a little bit more control over that, but definitely monthly. If you can automate that as much as possible, that can save up a lot of time. Because like I mentioned, as an accounting advisor, I was pulling the P&Ls, balance sheets, AR, AP all the time. Those kind of the main ones I put on there, but there's so much more within Zoho Books that you can automate and schedule to be sent out. And as an accounting advisor, like I was mentioning, as I was pulling those reports, it wouldn't take me a crazy a lot of time, but it would take me anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes to get all those reports. And if you can schedule that and kind of get that off your plate for every single month, that really saves up time. And I had, anywhere from 20 to 50 clients. So whenever you're doing those monthly reports, it would take up pretty much my whole day to be sending those out because we needed to send them out by the 15th. And I know on the 14th, I was always just trying to crank out those reports and send them out. And then you have to put together an email and all that stuff. It's not necessarily worth it to do all that. I think this is the most secure way and automated way so that everybody can get those reports without you sending out emails and all that. Another thing is bulk update. This is another really cool tool that I thought was really needed on the top 5, just because as an accounting advisor as well, I'm sorry I keep bringing that up, but I know it can help out a lot of clients as well, a lot of Zoho customers as well. And essentially what this allows you to do is quickly move transactions around. So say you're a small business and you put all your grocery store transactions in a just say call it a business expense, but then you kind of start realizing that, hey, that was a little bit more personal, but you have, I don't know, 1,000 grocery store transactions in there to target. And you thought it was business expense, but then you go home and your loved one tells you, hey, I was buying you a TV and all this stuff. So it's really personal. And so you have to go through there and manually remove all of them. This is how you used to have to do. You have to manually click every single one or do a journal entry and remove all of them. But luckily with bulk update, you can go in there and click them all and quickly move them to the new account. And I will give you kind of a accounting advisor tip. If you're starting out a new account, so if you're starting out a new Zoho Books account, or you have a new bank or new credit card, what you can do is really take all those transactions whenever you're trying to just push everything into Zoho Books quickly. You can push them all into one account and just call it Ask Accountant or something like that. And as they're all sitting in there, you can quickly navigate through that bulk update and push them to the right account. Like say if you have a bunch of Uber charges or you have a bunch of Staples charges, you can quickly go in there and filter and push them to a different account. And I think that is the most beneficial way to use bulk update. And that's really how I was able to quickly set up new accounts within Zoho Books. And also, if you're a small business, go ahead and if you don't understand transactions, put them in one account and allow your account to go through bulk update and update that later as well. So I'm a little passionate about bulk updates. Sorry, I was a little long-winded about that. And we also have document management, which is a great way to just really stay organized. So you can streamline and store all your documents over here. This is within Zoho Books, so you don't have to go anywhere else. You have your clients directly mail you documents, which is also very beneficial. Um, like I said, they're not going into your mailbox. You don't have to go put it somewhere else. They can automatically just push it in there and it'll be organized the way you would like it. You can auto scan and capture data. You can convert scan documents. What I mentioned earlier is you can organize files and you can set folder level user permissions. So if you need someone to see bank reconciliations, you can see that. And if you want someone to just see invoice payment documents, you can see that. And you can really make those permissions if you would like. Another cool feature is your client and vendor portal. And if you're not using the vendor client portal, I do recommend you checking out how to do so, because this is really how you can automate a lot of um, your interactions with your customers or clients. So you can communicate with your customers through estimates. So no more, you send them an estimate and you start working, and then all of a sudden um, later down the road, they let you know that, hey, I didn't necessarily agree with this, even though there was some sort of communication that they agreed, but there wasn't actual written communication. So this is a great way to do that. You can also check when customers view your invoices. So no more, kind of similar to Click. You don't necessarily have to wait and contact them to see, hey, what's going on with this invoice. If you see that they haven't viewed it, then you can kind of reach out to them and tell them to check out the client portal. Um, Clients can also pay these invoices through here. So you can kind of set up that QR code to go to this client portal and that invoice so that they can pay online. So it automates that. You can submit your time entries for approval. And that's really if you're a service-based business or you're an accountant or lawyer, you're billable, you can get those time entries approved. You can also get reviews from your customers. And what's really cool is how you can interact and discuss with customers over comments. And I think that's very beneficial, just because kind of what we're talking about, whenever you're submitting time, you need approval or something, you can really communicate with them beforehand. So at the end of the process of, say, if you're billable and you have about, $5,000 worth of billed time, you don't necessarily have to fight for your time right in front of them. You can communicate that effectively beforehand, so you're not necessarily just in a room and they're disagreeing with how much time it took to do something. And this is what an example of what it would look like. You can see a client can check out their invoices, their estimates, their payments made, the timesheet, and the projects that are kind of going on for them. So I think that is really our top 5 features within Zoho Books, not including the new features. And there's no particular order. So number 1 wasn't the one that I thought was the absolute best, but that's really kind of what we thought the audience would want to hear and what we thought was our favorite. And obviously, if you can tell, bulk update was my favorite one that we have. So before we continue on to the live demo, I did want to launch the 3rd poll question. And as this is going on, have you ever used Zoho Books before? This would be pretty good to kind of gauge how detailed Dheeraj should be on the demo. But before we continue, I wanted to ask Dheeraj, what's your favorite kind of feature that Zoho Books has implemented, either new or old?
Mine should always be reminders. So
Uh,
yeah, and I know I'm the one who put that on the list, but
uh,
I've seen a lot of people saving huge amount of time with reminders.
mhm.
So imagine having to find out an invoice that's overdue and then following up by sending out an email separately
Yeah.
or calling them up, and like imagine a scenario where it's completely automated. So
Yeah, no. And I think that's kind of the theme we had with a lot of our features are the automations for them. and how we can really get rid of that interaction, kind of what you're talking about, where you're constantly reaching out about an unpaid invoice and all that. And I really recommend, if you're a business, you don't necessarily have any automation set up, to just find a way to improve your automation work and your workflow, just because it can save you a lot of time, and you're not constantly just wondering if so and so paid you. Because here's another example. I have a client that I work with. He's an old client that I have, and he only reaches out to me at the end of the year for 1099s and to just go over his bills that are paid. And he hasn't automated anything. Everything is just handwritten checks. And he pays me. He doesn't. I don't want to necessarily go over the number, but I spend quite a bit of time kind of sifting through all his information to just see if, his his bills have been paid, and also is if he's been paid. And if he just automated a little bit of that so he can keep track of it, it would save him a lot of grief at the end of the year try to figure this out. And every year it's always right before the tax deadline. And I don't necessarily do taxes. I don't really do accounting work anymore. He's kind of a family friend, so I help him out a little bit. But it's just not necessarily, it's just a little frustrating because I don't necessarily want to do it anymore, but I just wish he would automate it. So, but yeah, so thanks for answering the poll question. Sorry to be long-winded again on that, but yeah, so it looks like the majority of everybody has used Zoho Books, but I will say, Dheeraj, I'll go ahead and show the results. There are quite a few people who haven't, but they've used other Zoho applications, and some who haven't used any Zoho applications. So kind of just go at a decent pace so that not everybody feels welcomed during the live demo. So I'll go ahead and transfer control over to Dheeraj real quick.
A reminder, folks, kind of while we're shifting over here, that to put your questions in the questions area, it's very important because our support teams are going to follow up the questions area. Drop it in the chats area, it kind of gets lost pretty quick.
Yeah. I appreciate that, Val. And as soon as this pops up, Dheeraj will get started, and I'll be able to go.
Yep.
Awesome.
So
Thanks, Dheeraj.
yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful. So yeah, thank you so much for that. So so Nathan has just walked us through a lot of things. So we just took a look at all the important features that were introduced in Zoho Books over the last year, and also we had a detailed walkthrough of 5 features that we as a team think you should know in Zoho Books if you're using the product or if you're prospecting the product. So what I thought is on this demo, right? So with the time that we have it, it's not possible to actually go over all the functionalities that is available in Zoho Books because it's so feature rich. But instead, we'll just concentrate on the features that we discussed, and I'll kind of walk you through on how you can navigate through the product to find it and start implementing it for in your process to make things easier if it's applicable. So let's actually go over things one by one. Now, for those of you who are completely new to the application, this is the dashboard, and it's a screen that welcomes you when you log in to the product. So there's a whole lot of information available at your fingertips: receivables, payables, everything with a direct link to the reports. So if you'd like to see a detailed analysis of your receivables with a split up of aging details, then that's available right away at your fingertips. And there's more information: your expenses, your income, projects that you're handling. All of these are available in the dashboard itself. Now let's go over the features that are functionalities that Nathan just discussed. The first topic was the payroll integration. Now, as you know, we just have support for 9 states through Zoho Payroll. Now, for all our customers that are situated at other states, right, in the US, we launched this integration with Payroll, and to access that integration, all you need to go to is settings, integrations, and then go to other apps. And you will see Payroll listed over here. So these are list of third-party applications to which Zoho Books connects. You'll find a bunch of them, out of which here is Payroll. So all you need to do is click on Learn More, and you'll be taken to the web page of Payroll to fill in your details, and then you'll be able to connect the two systems. Now, after you connect the two systems, every time you do a pay run, the corresponding entries, the payroll entries, get posted in Zoho Books as manual journals. So there's no need to post any entries manually in the system. It just happens automatically between the two applications because it's an API integration. So that's how we handled the payroll for all the 50 states in the US. Now, for those of you who are located at states where we have support for Zoho Payroll, I definitely recommend you to check that out. That again is also a direct integration, and the product looks like a natural extension of Zoho Books. So for those of you who are comfortable navigating with Zoho Books, right? So Zoho Payroll would also not be a difficult task because it's pretty much looks the same and feels the same. The product, the look and feel of the product is very much similar to Zoho Books. And in terms of functionalities, I would not say, as Nathan mentioned, right? So it's not that feature rich as Payroll when you compare Zoho Payroll with Payroll. But I definitely believe that for small businesses, this is a perfect fit for your needs, and it's very reasonably priced as well. Now, the next thing we'd be looking at is connectors. So what are really connectors? So connectors are used to connect Zoho Books with third-party services to access authenticated data. So for those of you who are a bit of technical, right, you understand what I'm talking about. So you can set up these connections, and you can use these connections in custom functions or custom buttons or even in schedulers. So if you're writing a piece of code to execute a particular task, right, using our automation section over here, you can use our connections in those. And we have a list of predefined connections that we have already set up. So if I click on default services, right, so 75 is the number. There are 75 default predefined connections available. You don't have to do anything. You can set up the connections straight away, or you can also set up a custom connection with a service that we don't connect with directly. So that's what connectors does. Now, for those, again, so this might sound a bit of overwhelming for those people who are not technical. So again, you can always reach out to our support team if you'd like to kind of understand better about what connections can do and how it can be implemented in your automation functionalities of Zoho Books.
Yeah, and don't feel bad if you don't necessarily know what the connectors are. It took me a while to get a grasp of it. And yeah, if you need any help, like Dheeraj said, reach out to support, or you can reach out to us. We can kind of connect you with the right person.
Exactly. Yeah. That's true. Thank you for jumping in, Nathan. Yeah. So yeah, the next thing we'd be discussing is how well Zoho Analytics connects to Zoho Books. So for those of you who are new or hearing Zoho Analytics for the first time, that is our business intelligence tool that lets you create custom reports out of multiple sources. So data can not just come in from finance, it can come in from multiple sources like different products coming from your website. And all that data can come into analytics, and you can create custom reports of your requirement based on criteria that you choose. Now, Zoho Books has its own set of reports. There's 50 plus reports available in Zoho Books itself. Now, let's say you need more. You need more customizations to it. You need to generate blended reports, like you need data coming in from CRM, and then you need finance data coming in, and you want to create analysis out of it, things like that, right? So that's when you need to look at Zoho Analytics. And the good thing about analytics is that it's closely integrated with books. Now, when I click on this advanced analytics tab under the reports section, all the reports that you're going to see here, right, all the dashboards that you're going to see now here are the reports or dashboards that were generated in Zoho Analytics. So the exact user interface of Zoho Analytics is now embedded into Zoho Books. And I can just go ahead and click any of these, and then it just opens up that particular report within Zoho Books. So you only need to visit Analytics if you want to create a new report or make any changes to the way existing reports are being generated. But to access them, you don't have to leave the Zoho Books applications. You can just do that over here. And all those reports, you can set up few customizations based on date ranges over here, and the report gets modified accordingly. So there's a bunch of dashboards that you can create. This is just one example. There's a lot of dashboards already available as well. So here's one for inventory, here's one for receivables, sales and receivables. Let's take a look at that. All these analysis, so all the data is being pushed into analytics from Zoho Books, again, through the integration. And after the integration is set up, you create these custom dashboards over there. There's a bunch of predefined reports available as well. By the way, I need to mention that. So let's say you're connecting Zoho Books with Zoho Analytics, then there are a lot of advanced finance level reports, right, that you might need already available, pre-built for you in Zoho Analytics. So you can access those as well. So it's a really strong, powerful tool, Zoho Analytics. And as Nathan already mentioned, we have a session coming up on the third day just on Zoho Analytics.
Yeah, definitely come to that session if you want to explore analytics. And really, if you don't want to explore analytics, I would advise you come anyways, just to see how you can use analytics to help benefit your business kind of in the future.
Of course, yeah, of course. Now, just so that we're talking about reports, right, I would also want to show you something interesting. So we recently introduced something called custom reports. So as I mentioned earlier, there are 50 plus reports available by default in Zoho Books. All of these are the default reports of Zoho Books. Now, let's imagine a scenario where you're managing, you want to make modifications to an existing report. So this is the profit and loss report, and I want to do some customizations to it. Let's say I'm taking this off. Yeah, so this is the standard profit and loss report. Now, I want to make some customizations to it. Let's say I have few reporting tags, and I have a tag name by the name location, and I set up a tag name for, let's say, New York, and I run it for the previous year. So what I've now done is I have I've implemented some customizations to it, and I'm now running it as a separate report. Now, when I'm making these customizations, right, you'd notice a button at the bottom that says Save as Custom Report. So what you're able to do is you're able to make all the customizations that you need to make on this particular report within the limits that are obviously provided. And then you're able to save this as a completely new report under the Custom Reports tab. So I'll show you an existing custom report that I've created. So it's basically, yeah, so here it is. So I've created a profit and loss report just for a particular location with the help of reporting tags. So you can see that the branch location is California, and it shows me the P&L for that particular location. Now, the location is being handled using reporting tags. So if for those of you who are familiar with QB, right? So they call it classes, and we call it tags. So that's the only difference.
Yeah, very similar to QuickBooks class system.
Yeah, exactly. And the added advantage is that you're also able to schedule reports. So we discussed about this. Nathan was talking to you about this. Now, schedule reports is available for all the default reports as well as these custom reports that you create. So that's a really good advantage. So you don't have to be limited to the default reports with the schedule functionality. You can make customizations to those and then have that created as a separate report, and then have scheduling functionalities associated with it, so that you or your colleagues or your top management, whoever, gets a copy of the report on a weekly or daily or monthly or yearly basis as per your requirement. So that's another interesting thing about custom reports: modifications to existing reports and then saving that as a completely new report to be accessed at any point of time. Now, with that, we would let me also touch upon another feature that is kind of related to reports itself. So Nathan was talking about how you can assign roles related to reports. Now we'll take a look at that. So let's go to the users and roles section and go to the roles. And let's just assume that we're creating a new role. In the new role section, right? So if you scroll down now, you would notice that there's a completely dedicated section just for the reports. So you can choose to enable full access to all the reports for your employees for whom you're creating this particular role, or you can bifurcate it. So let's say you want to decide on the business overview reports. You click on configure access, and all the reports that are available under business overview would show up. And then you get to decide at a granular level what level of access should this employee or people with this particular role have for each and every report. So you can provide full access, a view or export or schedule or even share access. So it completely depends on your choice, and based on how you decide is what the employee would have access to all these reports when they log in. Now this is really an interesting feature because let's say there are employees working on just sales and nothing else. So you can provide them access to only the sales reports and not provide them access to anything related to purchases or tax or projects or timesheets, nothing of that sort. They just see the sales report and probably inventory reports as well, just so that they have a check on the stock availability of the items. So that's how well you can go to the granular level and decide what access each employee would have in terms of accessing reports. Now let's move over to another simple yet an interesting or interesting functionality. So
hey, Dheeraj, before you continue, sorry to interrupt, man. I'm gonna go ahead and launch the what poll is this? The fourth poll question, and just to let you know, there's about 15 minutes left, a little bit more than 15 minutes.
Sure.
Awesome. So what section in your accounting software do you spend the most time? And so it looks like the audience is kind of torn, but it looks like a lot of people in sales. That's good to hear that you spend the most time in sales. You don't want to necessarily spend the most time in purchases, just because obviously you want to make sales. It's a good problem to have. And if you're in purchases, don't worry about it. I have a lot of bills myself, and I have to talk to my family members. I don't want to say any names about how much we're spending. And reports, that's another good way. Definitely in the reports area, if you're in that a lot, you can, I feel like as a business owner or accountant, you're definitely trying to see how you can look at the business analytically and see for areas for improvement or see what's happened in the past as well. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So Dheeraj, you can continue on. Looks like we're good.
Super. So just brushing about on the two integrations that you talked about. So just want to show all of you where they can take a look at it. So of course, Zoho Books is well connected with a lot of Zoho applications, of which recently introduced one is Begin. So that's a light version of Zoho CRM, or you can call it Small Business CRM. And of course, just like we connect with Zoho CRM in detail, we also connect with Zoho Begin. And we also now have an integration with Zoho Click. This is an interesting integration because updates regarding your accounting software, like interactions with customers, things that happen with a particular invoice or an estimate, you get to push that into Click channels where multiple people are members. So let me show you an example. So this is a Click channel I created just for this particular company over here. And you can see that the updates related to all estimates, the items that are waiting to be reordered, low stock items, all of that. I keep getting updates on this, and I can add users to this channel so that people in your firm are updated about the things happening within the company regarding all these activities, like invoice payments, estimates, whatever be it. All of that can be pushed into a communication channel, and everybody can stay in sync.
Yeah, and I like to think of it as just a way to keep people accountable as well.
Exactly.
Just because there's multiple ways of communication, and someone might have missed that email, but usually if your business is using a service like Click, which is essentially like Microsoft Teams, it's a great way to be like just kind of require them to always be on Click, and you can have Click on your phone and all that stuff as well. So you're always able to see those notifications for sure.
Of course, yeah, and we use Click internally as well a lot. So that's another thing to mention. Now, next thing, of course, is one of my favorite feature is reminders. So so reminders helps you chase payments or chase customers for overdue invoices or open invoices and ensure that you're receiving your payments on time. So how do you set it up and how can it save time for you? So it's very simple. Let's take a look at how you can set up automated reminders. Now the criteria is the due date of the invoice. Now let's say you want let's take a look at the first reminder. So I click on reminder 1 and it shows me I can provide a name. I can choose how the reminder should go out. Should I receive a copy so that the system reminds me that this customer has not paid you, or should a copy just go out to the customer directly based on the criteria that you set up, or a copy gets sent out to the customer and you too receive a copy of it. So those are the three different ways in which you can set up a reminder, and you decide the criteria in which the reminder gets sent out. So let's say you want the first one to go 3 days before the due date of the invoice. And the content, of course, is customizable. So you decide what gets sent out. So there are uh, placeholders that you can place, which means the value gets fetched from the invoice dynamic. So it's dynamic fields basically. So customer name is a placeholder. So depending on the customer's name that's available on the particular invoice for which the reminder is being sent out, that gets fetched and is entered in the email template automatically. And you're able to enter a lot of placeholders wherever necessary so that it fetches the value dynamically. And of course, the content can be completely customized. Here's the payment link. Like, let's say if the customer kind of missed it when the actual invoice was sent out, and you want to remind him or provide him an option to again pay directly from the reminder itself, then you have the online payment link right within the reminder content itself. And then you can simply enable this reminder and click on save so that every time an invoice is about to turn overdue within 3 days, this reminder gets sent out. That's how it works. Now it's not just one that you can set up. You can set up multiple reminders. So let's say this one was sent out 3 days before the due date. The second one you can send out, let's say, 1 day before the due date. The next one can be sent out 1 day after the due date. So, and the content can all be different depending on the days or depending on the duration for which the invoice is now overdue. You can keep modifying the content, and then you can add a personal touch to all the reminders that are being sent out. That's the whole idea. Everything looks different if required. So there's no manual intervention. As soon as the invoice is paid or marked as paid, depending on how the payment is received, then reminders just get stopped for it, and then no more of reminders get sent out. Now you also are able to send out manual reminders, which means you can go to the invoice and then click on a button and then have the reminder sent out. So that would not be an automated method, but still serves the purpose. Now, it's not just for your accounts receivables, right? It's also as a business, it's important that you pay your vendors on time. And for that purpose, we have reminders that you can set up for your bills as well. Just the same idea, nothing different. It's just based on the due date of your bills. So depending on the due date that you decide for your that you set up for your bill, an email reminder gets sent out to you or whoever is part of your organization. So all the users of your organization, like here's Nathan, everybody who's part of your organization would be listed here, and you can decide who needs to get a copy so that they can take necessary action to pay your vendor on time. So this ensures that you pay your customers and when you receive payment from your customers on time, and also the automated reminders for bills ensure that you pay your vendors on time. So keeping both sides happy. Next thing we'd be looking at is bulk updates. So under the accountants tab. So this is Nathan's favorite feature. So let me kind of like walk you through what it does. So this is also one of the favorite features for our accounting partners or CPAs that are working with us. Now, what it does is, let me give you an example. So let's say you hire somebody new to your company who actually creates a lot of transactions and selects an incorrect account for all those transactions because of the lack of training, or he was not aware of the process or things like that. Now, at the end of the month or probably at the end of the quarter, when you do your review, you find out that there was so many transactions that were incorrectly coded to the wrong account. Now, imagine a normal scenario. You would need to sit and go through all of those transactions and make changes to it. Or for those of you who are not willing to do that, what they would do is they'd simply post a journal entry to the right account and just leave it like that. They would not bother about the incorrect transactions that were recorded.
Don't do that. At the end of the year, whenever your accountant gets a hold of it, they'll definitely ask questions. Well, yeah, if you don't know what you're doing with journal entries, I wouldn't do that either. I'm sure Josh might mention something later about that as well.
Of course, yeah. It's better to stay away from that as well. Now, if you're using Zoho Books, you don't have to worry because we figured out a solution for it. Now, that's filter and bulk update. So what you basically do is you select the account. So let's say we select sales here. And if you want to filter it again, like it's for a particular contact or enter a date range or an amount, you can do that. And you hit on search. So what it does is it pulls out all the transactions that were recorded for that particular account for the criteria that you set up. Now, let's say these two transactions were incorrectly coded. It should have actually gone to general income and not to sales. You select those and click on update. And then you can simply select the accounts, the correct accounts to which it should have actually been coded to, and click on replace. Now, what happens is in the backend, Zoho Books would change the account in those transactions. So it's not a journal entry that you're doing. It's not any sort of workarounds that you're doing. You're basically replacing or changing the incorrect accounts in all those transactions where the incorrect account was actually selected. And it saves a lot of time for our accountants.
Yeah, I can for sure. I did see in the questions panel, Miles was asking, can tags be bulk updated as well? And I don't know if it's that detailed.
No, it cannot be bulk updated over there, but maybe you can use it. Check if you can do a tag update over here. So it depends. So it depends on the modules for which it's not something that you can go and bulk update. Do in the bulk update tab. Yeah.
Well, that's a good recommendation, Miles, and that's something I'm sure we could implement going forward.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll let you continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So next thing I'd like to kind of show everyone how the client portal and the vendor portal would look like. So for those of you who are new, or Nathan kind of touched upon it as well. So we in Zoho Books, right? So if you're using Zoho Books, we provide an option for our users to enable a portal of their organization for their customers and vendors to log in and view transactions and do much more. So let's take a scenario over here. So I have my list of customers under the customers tab, and I have this particular client called Ashley Cole. Now, assume that I provided Ashley Cole access to the client portal of my organization. Now, if Ashley Cole logs in, right, he would be able to see the client portal like this. So this is how the client portal would look like when a customer of mine logs into a portal of my organization. So this is available by default. All you're doing is simply sending out an invitation to your client. They simply click on a link, enter their email address, set up a password of their own, and they are in. So they'll be able to see the portal like this. And within the portal, the clients would be able to see the outstanding invoices, available credits. So if you've connected a payment gateway to your Zoho Books organization, they'd be able to pay for all the outstanding invoices at a go, or just pay for individual invoices at one by one. They can do that as well, like you see over here. Estimates, this is another interesting thing. So clients can go through estimates and accept or decline estimates, which is a really cool functionality. So as you can see over here, there is an estimate that I'm looking at. And one interesting thing, right? So you can see that the estimate was just viewed. Now, if I go back over here, I can see an update that Ashley Cole has just viewed my estimate. This just happened in real time. So as soon as my client viewed the estimate, I got a notification in the Click channel that this action has taken place. Now let's go back. The client, as a client, right? So the customer can go over the estimate and choose to accept or decline by clicking on any of these. So let's say the client accepts it, and also post a comment over here. So these are things that the client just did. Now this is estimate number 65. Now if I go back to my Zoho Books account and click on this chat, you will see that all of these have been updated over here. Estimate number 65 has been viewed, has been accepted, and then a comment has been posted on it. I can now go back to my estimate section and it will show all of these over here as well. So you can see that the estimate is now accepted. The client has viewed the estimate at this particular time, and also the comment that the client posted is over here. And you can respond to those comments from here directly from your Zoho Books itself, and it will be displayed in the client portal. So there's good amount of interaction that you can do organically with your client, not through emails, not through phone calls. You can just do it through the Zoho Book system that we provide you.
Yeah, no, and I did see a question earlier. In Click, the client doesn't communicate with you through Click. It would just be through this client portal, right?
That is correct. Yeah. So
Right.
Click is for internal communication. No, it's kind of like a WhatsApp basically. So if
Yeah.
the client is also on Click, if he's using Click, then you can invite him and then he can chat with you over there. But it's totally a different game. So
Yeah. Okay.
it's usually for internal team communications. Yeah. So apart from that, sales orders, payments made, whatever details, whatever transactions that you've done with the client can view that over here. They can take a look at their statements, download it, or take a printout, customize the date range for which the statement is being generated. All of this can be done right within the portal. Now, another interesting thing is that the client can also update any of his personal information, like their billing address or shipping address or things like that can be updated directly from within the client portal. So they don't have to reach out to you to do all such basic stuff. They can just do that on their own. Now, just like we have a client portal, we also have a vendor portal. So if you go to the purchases section, I have a vendor set up as well. So here's one vendor that I have. And here's the payables. Now, how would it look like when a vendor logs into his portal? So I have a separate tab. This is how it would look like. So pretty much like the client portal itself, but of course the modules would change. So instead of sales orders, we have purchase orders over here. So every purchase order that you send out to your vendor, that would be available for your vendor to view within your client, within the vendor portal. And again, they can exchange notes with you over the comment section. And then a good thing is that they are able to upload their invoices. So when the vendor sends out the invoice, right, they can also do this over here. They can upload their invoice within the vendor portal, and that gets sent to you. A notification gets sent to you within your Zoho Books saying that your vendor has uploaded his invoice, and you can choose to approve it or decline it. As soon as you approve it, you get to convert that into a bill within your Zoho Books organization. So that's very neat and unique, I would say. So a unique portal for your vendors to upload all their invoices. And of course, basic things like payments received and statements that the vendor can view within the vendor portal. So that's the client and vendor portal. Now that we talked about how all of this works, right? There's one more thing I'd like to show you guys, which is this is a very interesting feature, but not many customers actually use it or are not really aware of it. So within Zoho Books, right, you have a document storage available. So when I say document storage, you're able to send out all receipts, all purchase orders, all sales orders, whatever documents that you'd like to store. You can send that across to the documents folder, and you're able to organize it as separate folders under the documents tab that you see over here. So I just have one folder. I can create multiple of them and then organize it properly. And one cool thing about this documents folder is that it scans information out of the receipts or the documents that you upload. Say, for example, let me show you a ticket, a flight ticket that I took. So this is basically a flight ticket of mine. And you notice that the system automatically detected the amount, the date for the flight ticket, and also the vendor name. And I'm with a click of a button, I'm able to convert this into a bill easily, or an expense. I can just do that easily. And if it's not things that you want to organize it, or you want to create those as transactions, right? They could be simple things that you just want to store it in Zoho Books. You can do that as well. You can consider this as an online document storage. Now, how do you access this? You have a unique email address to which you can send out your receipts. That's one method. The second method is to come into your web application, just like where I am, and I can upload it from my desktop or cloud, and the receipt gets uploaded over here. Or the third method, which is the easiest, is to use your mobile phone. So let's say you walk into a restaurant, you pay your bill, you can take a picture of the receipt and then upload it over here, and the system automatically detects data out of it and then allows you to convert that into an expense or a bill easily with a few clicks. So that's how it works. So yeah, so for those of you wondering, this is provided as an add-on. So that's probably why you might not have it in your default subscription. So for those of you are on a paid plan already and wondering why you do not have access to it, this is the reason. So Zoho Books provides the documents add-on functionality at an additional cost. But again, you're able to reduce a lot of manual work with this feature. But again, attaching documents or physical documents to transactions is a whole different thing, and that does not cost you anything additional. For example, let's say you want to attach a file to an invoice manually, you can do that, and there's no fee involved in it. This process, right, where you attach an actual receipt or things like that. The same thing can be done with expenses or purchase orders, whatever transactions you do, you're able to attach documents to it. Yeah, so that's pretty much about everything that we should be discussing on the demo. I know I could not cover a whole lot of things, but I was able to kind of touch upon the new updates in the application and also some of the important features that we feel you should know when you're using the application.
Yeah, thanks for that, Dheeraj, and I hope it kind of helped out a few people out there. I know there's a lot of questions in the questions tab, so as I'm going through migration with Josh and also with expense, Dheeraj, if you don't mind kind of going in there and helping some people out.
Sure.
So we're actually kind of on a time crunch and we need to get going because maybe at the very end of the session we'll be able to answer questions live, but we will see. So let's see. All right, thanks for that, Dheeraj. I appreciate it. And like I mentioned earlier, a lot of that was for automation and how we can improve that. So let me explore expense real quick before Josh gets on. And before I do that, actually, let's go ahead and launch as we're getting set up. Let me go ahead and launch the fifth poll question real quick. So, do you currently use an expense management tool? And this is actually one of Val's favorite tools within Zoho, and it's really our enterprise ready tool, and it's kind of our Trojan horse because it integrates with so much ERP, a lot of ERP systems, a lot of accounting systems as well. So if you're in a bigger business, definitely look into expense management just because, like Zoho itself, we use it and it works out great. Definitely for upper management to kind of keep tabs of us during our per diems and everything. But let me quickly go through this so then Josh can start talking about my best practices of migration. Yeah, so last year we did introduce the all new Zoho Expense. We called it Zoho Expense 2.0, but really it just translates over to Zoho Expense. And what we've done is we really added a new user interface that has this really nice, beautiful dashboard where you can kind of see everything in one place. So you're able to see reports, which you can kind of see in that image. And we also added some face icons, which was pretty cool. Not necessarily cool, but it looks neat. And you're able to really what you're able to do there is keep track of what's going on with individuals and see if there's any pending trips or pending reports that you haven't approved. And this is really for the upper management, right? Obviously, the individual employee, all they need to really do is just enter the expenses. They don't need to look at the reports. But for the manager or the admins who are approving all this stuff, this will allow them to have reminders and see some really cool stuff and insights on these expenses rather than just going in there and pulling in these special reports to do so. Now we added more expense auditing and fraud control. So, for example, one thing we've added is like the way we have to do it internally is we have to add receipts for things that are over $25. And if you don't, basically gets flagged. And this is really good for auditing purposes. And you can set those up for yourself internally. So any expense that, like I mentioned, is over a certain amount, you have to have a receipt. So whenever you're auditing it in the future or you get audited, you're able to have backup for that. And also, if you require that for a business, you can see those violations before they get out of control. And you're also able to set budgets, which is really good for anybody with budgeting issues. I know a lot of people, definitely in the construction industry, they kind of just send their employees out there and just let them buy things and just trust in their employees. And this allows you to kind of be transparent with them and just hold them accountable so they're not out there spending too much. And really, that's what an expense management tool does. Is it really helps you have accountability and also keep everything separated from personal to business. So you're able to really keep track of a lot of the business expenses that are going on. And with these budgets you are setting up, you're able to keep track of that and also, yeah, hopefully not go over it. But if you do, obviously that's not the end of the world, but it's just good to keep track of all that to see how you can improve it. Or maybe you need to increase the budget kind of going forward. Some other features we do have is obviously the audit and compliance, which is great. You can set these audit rules up, which I kind of mentioned a little earlier. And I always get in trouble with that receipt thing, just because I don't necessarily always include them, and I kind of get dinged on that at the end of the day. And Val has to come talk to me about it. Not necessarily come talk to me because he's in Utah. And then we also have multi-level travel management, which is a great way to just keep track of everything. And I believe Dheeraj, I'm sure you sent all your stuff to through Zoho Expense as well, so you're able to kind of keep track of that. Definitely, whenever you're starting to go into more and more events, and like Val and myself have to do in certain parts of
Yeah,
the year.
definitely.
Yeah, and then we also have expense reporting and approval. This is great, definitely for the admins and the managers, so they're able to kind of get a big overall picture of what's going on within within their expenses, and it helps you keep track of it and see if there's a problem before there's a problem. That's a big thing about expense management is it really helps you kind of control your expenses and hopefully manage your cash flow better so that at the end of the month you're not looking back at your credit card charges and seeing all these fees and you're having to reach out to all those employees to see, hey, what's going on with this? Why were you at Target, as an example again? Why were you at Target buying so and so TV, and then lo and behold, they were actually at an event and they needed a TV for that event. And so we just wanted to kind of jump in and show y'all expense a little bit. This is kind of a quick dive, but kind of on the theme of automation with Zoho Expense is you're able to automate it by having your employees. Really, it helps them out automated as well, so they don't have to hold every receipt. What happens, definitely for Val and myself, whenever we go on business trips, all you do is you purchase something, food. You're at the airport, you purchase food, you take that receipt, you snap it, it immediately goes into Zoho Expense, and it'll recognize it to some extent, and you're able to say, for example, we have Torchy's Tacos over in our airport. You scan it, it says it's meals and entertainment, and you just immediately tag it to a report, and you just save it for later, and you can throw away that receipt and not stress out about it again. And it just really helps, definitely me as an employee, automates my process, but it also automates Val's process and our approvers process later down the road, just because they don't have to sit there and reach out to me and ask me why I was at Torchy's Tacos at 10 o'clock in the morning. And they find out that it's actually for travel. And so, yeah, so I appreciate y'all kind of sitting down, going through expense with me. And we will do a more detailed expense. I know that was really quick, but we'll do a more detailed expense presentation later in the 2022. We kind of have that in our docket. If you want to attend that, just be on the lookout for that email. So I'll go and launch the 6th poll question before Josh gets started. And as we're going through this, I'll just ask Josh to test his mic real quick, just to see how.
Hey, Nathan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Josh. Thanks for joining. Kind of weird
Awesome.
you join in mid-session. Normally you're in the beginning through the thick of it with us, but I'm sure you've been in listening to us.
I've been listening to your taco eating stories. Don't worry.
Well, we always like to talk about food because it's lunchtime pretty much all across the U.S. So we're always bringing up food.
Is my sound loud and clear?
Yeah, you sound clear.
Okay, awesome.
So I asked everybody if they've ever migrated to an accounting system before. And this wasn't necessarily just a migration session. So I know we would have a few people who have migrated or who aren't necessarily interested in it. But it looks like majority of everybody here has not migrated yet, or they don't do it that often. So this will be a great session for y'all to kind of understand the basics of it, and hopefully be able to see how Zoho can benefit. You can benefit from using Zoho for that. So navigating migration, we'll go ahead and get started. Let me introduce Josh Blesnick real quick. You heard him speak a little bit, but really he works for Pressing and Nagley, which we do have some handouts over there. We have their newsletter in there and also their webpage. And he's been there since 2019, but he's been in the accounting industry for about, I guess that number's not 5 anymore. It's about 6 because it was 5 whenever I met you. No, it's about 7 now, right? So I've met, yeah, you've been
probably around 7.
Yeah, around 7. And yeah, I've known Josh for about 2 years, ever since I started at Zoho, and he's been a great resource for us and definitely a great migrating expert for Zoho. And I really appreciate him jumping on and sharing migration with the audience. So Josh, I'll let you kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about Pressing and Nagley.
Sure. So hi, everyone. My name is Josh Blesnick. I've been here at Pressing and Nagley since 2019. I actually met the Zoho team around 7 or 8 years ago in Austin. Graduated from Ithaca College with a degree in finance and international business. And I've done numerous amounts of Zoho migrations, moving data from QuickBooks, Sage, all different systems into Zoho Books. So jumping into the migration. Now, typically, as Nathan mentioned that his last polling question was, have you done a migration before? So typically, most people don't go through a migration more than once or twice. It can be painful from the customer point of view, as well as the customer point of view in terms of how does this involve you? What do you need to know? What's going on during it? Can you use your system? Can you not? So right now on the screen is a migration path. This is typically the standard way of how a consultant would go through a migration and what the steps are. And we're going to walk through the path, discuss each step, as well as all the details. And then I can share my screen a little bit and show a quick demo if we have time in terms of the best ways to do it if you were doing it yourself, and how you can do it yourself as well. So before we get started with the migration path, just to know that moving from QuickBooks or Sage or any system to Zoho is definitely intensive in terms of effort. The way that you have to import different bills, bill payments, invoices, things like that. And after the import, the major part of the migration process is the reconciliation process, to understand where all the data went, to make sure that the data looks clean, to reconcile your trial balance sheet, P&L, etc. And then you can go live and start it. So the first part of migrating is to discuss the custom integrations that you have. So if it's payroll or Avatax or Avalara, something like that. The next step is to choose a clean cutoff date where you're going to move from one system to another. Then you want your legacy system. So in this example, we'll use QuickBooks to be clean, reconciled throughout, and ready to move to books, and you have a clean system in both areas. The next thing is the chart of accounts implementation and revamp in terms of changing the way that you track expenses, your income, anything's on the balance sheet. Your list data, which is customers, vendors, items, as well as terms. And then you have your opening balances, open transactions, data migration check, which is the reconciliation, and then go live. So the first thing is to understand, excuse me, what does your current system integrate with? What integrations are you using or third-party tools that you need to run your business? The greatest thing about being here with Zoho is that they have an integration with everything. So the best part, which you've heard throughout the webinar, I'm sure, is that any type of integration that you're looking for from a CRM system, AP, AR, 1099 software, there is something within Zoho from their suite of applications, as well as third-party apps that they connect to find your needs. Once you identify what your third-party integrations are, then you can decide if you're going to need a new integration or keep the same one that you have and just move forward. So some of the ones that I list here are payroll. Zoho has a payroll solution. Outside of the payroll solution, we have inventory management, CRM, online payments, AP and AR solutions, 1099 software, Office 365, and any other applications that you might be using. I will say that primarily the companies and businesses that I work with to migrate them to Zoho Books typically either have a inventory system and or a payroll system that they're currently using. And we try to find options to either move them off their current system or keep their current system to get the data into Zoho Books seamlessly. So the next big part of this process is the chart of accounts. And a lot of companies, throughout your bookkeeping and different things, from notes and discoveries from your accountant at the end of the year, there's different ways to track your books. Now, the one thing to note is that what I like to always say is that the balance sheet, your assets, liabilities, and equity, typically are for your accountant. The business owner wants to look at your P&L. They want to be able to see how much money they're making, what's their net profit. If you're a service business or sell products, what the different income buckets you have, to track income based off the different services or products that you sell, and the expenses as well, and be able to track them seamlessly and know what's going on. any issues from the accounting point of view and or from the bookkeeping point of view will be solved when you go to a new system. And you want to make sure that you can solve these issues without a problem and be able to be in the new system seamlessly and not have any of the problems that you had in your prior system. So we definitely, depending on the client, we spend time looking at the chart of accounts, recreating your P&L flow, how the income bucket should look, what expenses do you want to break down, how granular do you want to be. And then once that is done, the main thing is to have a mapping sheet or a way to be able to look at your current system versus your old system to be able to compare numbers. And as an example, if you change utilities from 6110 as an account number to 6000, you want to be able to document that. So if an accountant ever looks at your prior years, they know that the account number changed or that the name of the account changed and all the data is there. Once that is done, the main thing is that when we're ready to migrate, we want to have a clean legacy system. And that means that all bank accounts should be reconciled to the date of cutoff, and that you have a clear understanding of what your closing numbers are. So to give you an example, I'm doing 5 migrations at the moment in this time that should be done in the next 2-3 days.
Sorry you had to get on this session. Wow, that's awful. No, sorry. Yeah, continue.
But these migrations that I'm going through, the main thing is to make sure that we have a clean understanding of when are we going live. So most of these projects that we're working with are going live 12/31. So they are closed out their books already in November. I'm going to bring in all the data up until November, make sure November looks good. We feel comfortable with November, and everything ties, all the activity, and we're set. Once the December finishes, we probably take a weekend or 3 days to be able to put in the rest of the data and be able to reconcile and make sure that the month of December is going to be closed as well. So looking at the migration path continued, when you start migrating and start entering in things into Zoho and moving data, the first thing outside of this slide is you have to understand how many years and how much data you're going to bring across. So I'll give you an example. There's a client that I'm currently working with in Canada, and he said that I'm moving, this is the first time that I'm migrating. I'm moving from a different system to Zoho. I've been on this system for 30 years. Bring everything over. So I said, do you need 30 years of data? You can have it. I'll give it to you, but what do you need? And typically, it's 2 to 3 years. Some people choose 5, depending on the transactional volume. If your business was in infancy in the beginning and didn't really get to the level of, to be on Shark Tank, as an example, then you can, bring in the entire data set because you have 5-6 years of 100, 200 transactions, not so much activity, and you're good to go. Then once we start migrating, the main thing is to bring your list data. Your list data is your customers, vendors, contacts, terms, and items of what you sell. If it's a service-based business, it's the services that you provide and the cost associated to it. And if you're a merchandise-based business, product-based business, it would be the products that you sell with your selling prices. If there's price lists involved, that you sell certain prices to specific customers, to have that associated as well. The next one is open balances. So to view control reports, trial balance, AR, AP, and outstanding bank transactions. Now, the one thing I want to focus on with the open balance aspect is a lot of Zoho Books has a beautiful open balance module where you can enter in your open balances, and I'll show you where that is in a second. And you can have your open balances there and be able to start moving forward, select a migration date, and you're good to go. Unfortunately, I don't use that. I always enter in a journal entry. And the reason why I enter in a journal entry is because typically when you create a open balance through the open balance module, the other side of that entry is open balance equity, and it falls onto your balance sheet. And typically, depending on when you started your business, if we're starting data, let's say from 2018 going forward, we wouldn't actually need to have an open balance equity entry on our balance sheet because we've been in business for a while and our real open balances happened 10 or 15 years ago. So entering in the trial balance as a journal entry alleviates that and gives you the ability to have a clean entry. The next thing is open transactions. So the open transactions typically are AR and AP, any bills that are open or invoices, to be able to look at them, recognize them, and make sure that everything ties correctly. So once we finish everything and we start importing the data into Zoho, we then do a final check. We look at all the data, make sure everything looks clean, we feel comfortable with how it looks, and then we're ready to go live. And the real question is, and I'm sure everyone sitting here listening to my beautiful voice and looking at my amazingly bearded face, is what does this have anything to do with me? I hire a consultant, tells me it'll be done in a month or two, and I'm good. And we're moving. I'll check up once in a while what the status is, and that's that. That's not how it is at all, to be honest. The real aspect that your involvement is being able to feel comfortable, to be able to know how to use the system, to know how to navigate and be able to enter in invoices and bills and bill payments, and to make sure all your items are there and your chart of accounts look clean, and that you feel comfortable with migrating. Because if you are a business owner and moving to a new system, it's frustrating and it's definitely an irritating process if it's not done correctly, and you want it to be done correctly. So how I handle it is I have weekly calls with my clients. We go through each step of the project. We discuss every aspect of the migration. We get sign-offs from the list data. Then we enter in a couple years, reconcile, make sure everything looks clean, and then kind of move forward. So your involvement is really just to be aware of what's happening, because when day one comes and we press the button and say, hey, you're going live, you also want to feel comfortable navigating through the system. And we do user training and user acknowledgement and show the user the interface and how things are set up throughout the process. The other aspect, which is a little bit tricky when it comes to the migration, is that there are many different types of transactions and or transaction types that from other systems that don't work the same way that Zoho works. And to be honest, from a system point of view, Zoho has these amazing controls that really help the data aspect of the financials, where QuickBooks and other systems don't have those controls, but it causes sometimes errors to come up during imports, stuff like that. So there are ways of trying to make sure that the data goes in smoothly, to be able to have workarounds for specific types of transactions, to use a suspense account, a different type of an account, to have that transaction hit there and then make a journal entry to move it. There's many different types of scenarios that come up during these migrations that, you know, somebody who's done this and feels comfortable with, you know, picks up and understands and knows what's going on. So like I said, after this is done, we have the data in the system, we're ready to go live. Now, there are two theories of going live. The one theory is to run parallel, which would mean that you would be using both systems at the same time for a month or 2 months to make sure everybody feels comfortable. Once they feel comfortable in both systems, you're able to push the button and you know, forget about your old system, go forward, and you're done. We as a firm don't like to push parallel because it's double entry, more work for everybody, and we like to do the last month of the reconciliation and imports during a weekend and user training throughout the system, so you feel comfortable with it enough to go live on day one without testing and running parallel. And then the other methodology of this is just to go live. You pick the data of the new system and you're in it. Now, sometimes there are things that happen during the migration process. And, you know, I try to make sure, or sorry, let me rephrase that. We make sure that on go live date, you are ready to go live. That there's no ifs, ands, or buts, that you're on the system, you're using it. If there's any issues or anything like that, we deal with it after the fact, and you start entering in data in the new system as soon as possible.
Yeah, hey Josh. Before we kind of get to questions and kind of, I guess you'll do a little bit of a demo. I'm going to launch the 7th poll question real quick as you're getting ready. And for those of you who've been asking for Josh's email, there it is, right there. And he'll dive in a little bit deeper. We don't have too much time, and we've done a more detailed migration session in the past where you can find that in our YouTube channel. And I'm sure in 2022 we'll do more as, you know, obviously Zoho improves. There might be a better way to do migrations, and Josh will be kind of the guy to help guide us through that, because like he says, he does migrations almost, I mean, that's all he deals with pretty much at this point. And he has, what'd you say, 5 going on right now?
I have 5
oh
going
my
on
goodness.
right now, yeah.
I hope you had a good holiday at least before that.
I was working the entire time.
I understand, man. I get it. So what about migration worries you, and importing accurate data? And let's let Josh kind of dive in just to see how we can help with importing, you know, your accurate data and all that. So just a reminder, if you need your CP, you need to answer at least 6 out of the 8 poll questions. And I'll let Josh continue.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Nathan. So like Nathan mentioned, if anybody's asking for my email, I don't bite. Feel free to contact me, even if it's a question about the migration or anything like that. I would be happy to answer you and hear from you guys. You know, feel free to reach out.
He can also answer questions not related to migration as well. So he's obviously has accounting experience. He can answer accounting questions, and also he can answer Zoho related questions as well. But yeah, continue, Josh.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. So just to jump into Zoho Books quickly for the next 5 minutes. Here we are in Zoho Books. So like Nathan's mentioned, we've done longer seminars that have primarily just been about migrations and how to migrate. And I've shown other examples of how to keep Excel sheets organized and be able to track changes that you made on your Excel sheets to make sure that, you know, bills and bill payments match, be able to identify and tie back activity. But for the next couple minutes, I'm just going to take you through a couple modules, start from the top aspect of the migration, and then work through the transactions, and then kind of just show you how you would import, what the imports would look like, how you can get help to import, and start the migration process yourself. So within Zoho Books, when you start migrating, the first step is you got to get your customers, vendors, and items in. You can't create invoices without customers because invoices are always built to a customer. You can't create bills for vendors without the vendor names in there. So the first thing is, if you look at here's your customer list. Each module will have a hamburger icon, and this burger icon will have import customers or export customers. If you go to import customers, each module will have a sample CSV, which will actually show you the formatting that needs to be done to get your data in there. For list data, it's typically a display name, a company name, first name, last name, etc. If you're using CRM already, you don't have to worry about your customers because you can turn on the sync and everything will come in smoothly. And you'll get a sheet like this, and you'll be able to map it and import this back. Now, a good thing to note is list data have two options. You have the option to skip and or overwrite current data to change customer names or change an address or something like that via an import. You cannot do that on the transactional level whatsoever. But on the list data, customers, vendors, items, and chart of accounts, you can do that. So if we go into the vendor screen, it's the same thing where we have the burger icon, we would import our vendors, and then move forward. Then, after customers and vendors are in, we like to go through the chart of accounts. Now, the chart of accounts, you would go to the settings icon here and go to import chart of accounts, and you will be able to import your chart of accounts. One thing to note, and I always find this right away, depending on who does imports, is that within QuickBooks, parent-child relationships in chart of accounts are separated by a colon. So if you had Con Edison is a utility company here in New York. I'm not sure if that's in the rest of the country, but if you have Con Ed, it would be utilities : Con Edison. So in Zoho Books, the parent account is in a separate column, and you would have to separate that colon to put it into a separate column called the parent column to be able to import your chart of accounts. Once you import your chart of accounts, we'll check it. I personally mandate Zoho Books clients to use account numbers. It makes the chart of accounts a lot cleaner. It gives you the ability to filter reports and go through reports much faster, knowing what account numbers are a part of what specific account. And then you're good to go on that side. Once the customers, vendors are done and your chart of accounts are done, then we got to move into your items. What do you sell? What are the costs? What is the rate? Do you purchase it? Are you using inventory? What account does the purchase go to? Is it cost of goods sold? Is it an expense account? And what's your selling account? What income account do you use with the item? So same thing, burger icon, import. And then we're able to look here. We have a selling account here. This is a 1 hour training special. Oh, wow. This is funny that I clicked on this one. We'll discuss a 1 hour training special after the webinar. And here's a selling price, but we don't have a purchase price. So if you tried to create a bill for this item, you wouldn't be able to because there's no purchase account associated to it. And then we start getting into our transactions. Invoices, bills, expenses, transfers from account to account, deposits, customer deposits. And that will happen in each module. So the sales will show you, invoices. You go to burger icon, click on import invoices. You're able to import it. Same thing with invoices, invoice payments, etc. The one thing that I do want to note is that, and I'm sure that this was gone over in other parts of the seminar, but during the migration process, you can create custom views in these screens by going to the bottom and saying new custom view and selecting specific ways that you want to customize your view. I personally use this all the time. I add custom fields to specific things that I import just so I know that it's imported properly, and be able to view the data on screen to be able to tie things back without an issue. The last thing that I want to mention from a migration point of view is the ability to start tying things back and making sure things look good. Now, there's different methodologies of doing this. I personally like using a trial balance, drilling into the detail, and going forward. So you would go into the reports, look at your trial balance. Here's the trial balance. Look at each account, use your legacy system, click on the account, look at the detail, make sure everything looks good, tie it back, and then you're able to go live. I know we're running out of time, so just one last thing, that I want to mention is that the bulk update tool is a very good thing for migrations. There are times that when you import things and if accounts don't match or something like that, there could be duplicate chart of accounts created or duplicate customers. By using the bulk update and or duplicating your screen here in Google Chrome and right-clicking, opening a new tab and going through them gives you the ability to move transactions faster, get them where they need to go. And then once that is done and we went through all the transactions, you're happy with things look, things tie out, we're ready to start using Zoho Books, and we're good to go. So I want to thank everybody for the opportunity. I apologize if this was short. I know I threw a lot of information at you very quickly, but I hope it was helpful, and feel free to contact me if you have any specific questions or anything like that.
Yeah, thanks for that, Josh. I know you've helped out a lot of Zoho customers switching over to Zoho Books, and your time's very, valuable. Definitely because you're so busy up there, and it's hard. Sometimes you're so busy. It's I feel bad just kind of reaching out to you for this, but we do appreciate your help going through the migration setup. And like I said, in 2022, I'm sure we'll do a more detailed one, kind of with updates.
Right.
And I did see a question about SAP migration. Will be a little bit more telling you kind of the ins and outs of things you should look for whenever you're migrating. And what were you saying?
Right. I answered that one just a little bit, Nathan. I was warning them to make sure that they, protect data at each step, make sure that they have copies of everything as they're going through it. And that way you can recreate something if Humpty Dumpty falls off the wall. Go slow, expect some things to show up, balances not to match, something might not come across, but do your process really slow, methodical, so you can rebuild stuff if you have to. Given that, there's almost no system you can't come off and go to a new system if they have integration like we have. So you should be able to get there. It is a very, very tough job. Just warning everybody. Coming off something especially like SAP, it's going to be a tough job. Can you get there? Yes, you can get there.
Tell me about it, Val.
Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of that being said, sorry to interrupt, Josh, but that being said, that's why we kind of lean on a lot of our partners, and definitely Josh for sure, just because he's been able to see the ins and outs, and I'm sure he has some horror stories on clients who try to migrate by themselves, and it didn't go so hot. So definitely at least reach out to a partner, and that kind of brings us to our last poll question about if you'd like President Nagley to reach out to you to learn more about their migration, other accounting services, because they are a full-fledged accounting firm. They do pretty much everything you can think of: accounting advisory, migrating, tax advising as well. And I know we had Sal Russo kind of come on in November talking to us about how to prepare for the end of the year taxes and all that stuff as well.
All righty, folks. I think we're coming up right almost to the end of day one, right?
Yeah,
Nathan?
this is the end of day one. I appreciate everybody for joining today. Really helps us out if you fill out the evaluation, and we do appreciate you kind of hanging in there. And with 2020 and 2021 coming on this webinar journey with us, where I'm sure you've seen and heard us more than once, and we do appreciate it a lot. And any feedback you have is appreciated. And thank you, Josh, again for jumping on. I know you got some work to do, and I'm sure you'll be up late tonight, kind of getting those done. But anytime we can get you on here, we appreciate it. And Dheeraj as well, thanks for going through that presentation for us. I appreciate it. And
well done, everyone.
Yeah, here's
a good start to the week.
Good start. Yeah, here's our emails right here if you need to contact us. And yeah, if you want to, don't contact just one of us, just kind of tag us all in an email so we can help out at the same time. And if you're a partner or an accountant looking to join the partner program, you can book a meeting through this link right here. And like I said, that handout is in the handout section, so you can go there, and the evaluation will pop up once I end the session. So thanks everybody for joining. I appreciate it, and have a good rest of the week. And we hope to see you tomorrow and on the third day as well. So thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye.